Hey, what's up guys? Chris here, back with another tea talk. Gonna keep this one short today because it is very hot in my kitchen. And being that it's hot, being that it's summer, I thought I would make a video about two different brewing methods of making iced tea for Japanese tea, or maybe two different Japanese brewing methods of making iced tea. So the first one being called Kouri Dashi. So Kouri means ice in Japanese, and Dashi comes from the verb dasu, which means to withdraw, or in this case, I would probably use extract, although extract is probably another word in Japanese and wouldn't be linguistically correct, but I'm not a linguist, so I'm gonna say extract or withdraw today. So it's pretty easy. You kind of just put tea leaves in a pot or in some sort of vessel, and then put ice cubes on top of it, and then leave it out to melt. So that's what I did tonight. Came home about 6:30, and it's about 9:15 right now. So like I said, it is pretty hot in my kitchen. So the ice has melted. For the most part, it's a little bit hard to see, I'm sure, but again, it's pretty simple. And it doesn't produce that much, liquid or liqueur for the tea. So it is quite a concentrated little shot of tea, which I like. Maybe not at 9:15 at night for some people, but it doesn't really bother me, the caffeine. So I'm gonna drink this tonight. I also have made Mizu Dashi. So again, the word Mizu means water in Japanese, and Dashi comes from the word dasu, which means to withdraw, or in this case, extract. So basically you pour water and some tea leaves into a vessel, put it in the fridge for, I would say, no less than 8 hours, but you can leave it, depending on how strong you want it, for 24 hours. Sometimes I leave it in there for 48 hours because I forget about it, and it comes out to be relatively strong, but not overpowering. But one of the things I wanted to talk about tonight was the vessel itself. This is sort of a wine bottle shaped brewing vessel made by a company called Hario, Hario. They're a Japanese kind of beverage vessel kind of company, but they make this exclusively for cold brewing tea. And I got one, although it's not the exact one I'm holding. I got a similar one when I was living in Japan 10 years ago now, in Osaka, in Shinsaibashi. So very near to the Shinsaibashi Daimaru store, which is a department store similar to maybe Macy's in New York City, but kind of like an old style department store where they have, where each floor has different things, and there's a food court in there. There's different food distributors there as well. But very near to that store is or at least was, I couldn't find it on Google Maps now, which is unfortunate, but there used to be this tea store called Fukujuen, which I guess is a branch of the bigger Fukujuen tea brand, which is a rival to the Itoen company, which you may be familiar with, the Oyocha little bottle tea that they sell here in New York or in the United States, maybe at delis or at Japanese or Asian supermarkets. But Fukujuen makes their own line of bottled tea, which they also sell here mostly in the Japanese supermarkets here in New York and in the US. But they're like a sort of big tea company, and they had this cafe where the first floor is, sells loose leaf tea and tea products, where I purchased this tea bottle. But the second floor is a cafe, and it's actually the place where I first had wagashi, or Japanese confectionery. So in maybe a couple posts ago on here, last Saturday, I went to a tea and wagashi tasting at Kettle in Brooklyn, and that was a wonderful event. But it's actually where this place was the first where I first had it, paired with tea. And the tea there was fine. I got sencha, I got gyokuro, and I got matcha during my times going there. And it's nothing to write home about. It's a larger tea brand, so the consistency is good. The quality is okay for what it was, but it was a place that I frequented a lot when I was a study abroad student, and then when I went back to teach English, again in a city close to Osaka, when I would venture in on my days off, it would be a place that I would try to visit for a little while. It was a good place to read and just relax. So yeah, the Fukujuen Cafe, I hope it's still there, but if not, then that's kind of disappointing. But there is another tea cafe that was relatively close to that Fukujuen store. It's from a company called Uji Koen, which I think is a smaller kind of tea company based out of Uji in Kyoto, the large tea producing region of Kyoto. And that one has it is a cafe, or offers tea service. If you go in the back, they would pair tea with wagashi, or maybe yokan, which is another kind of Japanese confectionery, more like a jelly-ish kind of thing. But again, the front of house would be where they would sell the loose leaf tea. And all of this is in a shotengai, which is a covered marketplace that is common in Japan. And this one in particular in Shinsaibashi starts from Shinsaibashi Station, which maybe you would call, it's not particularly like Penn Station, but compared to where the Daimaru department store is, it would be like the distance of or where Penn Station is, and then that Shotengai continues down to the Dotonbori area, which is where the Glico Man, the Glico Running Man, and the Big Crab are in Osaka. It's the main tourist area. It's like the Times Square of Osaka, and it continues down to Namba Station, which would be maybe like 50th Street, so the end of Times Square, probably where like the Olive Garden is or used to be in Times Square, or where Caroline's Comedy Club used to be in Times Square. So it's about like a 10-block long little commercial mall area that's always packed. There's tons of things to explore there. There's restaurants, there's clothing shops, there's game centers or like arcades. There's pachinko parlors, so gambling, like little gambling casinos. There's izakaya, so Japanese pubs. Tons of stuff to explore there. So I definitely recommend checking out the Shinsaibashi area and the Dotonbori area if you are ever in Osaka. But yes, so I promised to keep this very short. Turned out to be a 10-minute video, but I just wanted to share those two methods of brewing iced tea for Japanese tea. So have a good night. Take care.